Okay, so this is my first trial of reflecting using Zoom and an avatar, video avatar, to see how it comes across. And I thought I would reflect on the personal moral qualities um, of a counsellor as suggested by the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. So we were given an exercise to consider a range of qualities that I suppose, an ideal counsellor might have, and then reflect on how we may or may not have these qualities. And just going through them, I'll read them out. Care, diligence, courage, empathy, identity, humility, integrity, resilience, respect, sincerity, wisdom. And as I read them, there's a part of me that thinks, yeah, I've got that. I've got that. I care. So it gives some greater definitions of care: benevolent, responsible, and competent attentiveness to someone's needs, well-being, and personal agency. My lived experience is that I vary in that. I sometimes feel like I have it and plenty of it. My cup runneth over, so to speak, and I can attend to you. I can listen to what you've got to say. I can reflect it back to you. I can ask you relevant questions. I can affirm and offer perspectives and be in that right kind of non-judgmental, compassionate, empathetic, uh, unconditional positive regard kind of place. And other days I feel like I've got the weight of the world on me and I have a thimbleful to give. And the discomfort that creates in me, the voice in my head, the critical voice will say, you don't care. This person's talking and you're not even taking it in properly. How can you possibly have anything to give them? Yeah. And as I run down the list, it can that same kind of, that's the negative bias on it. I say other days it's like, no. And actually, even looking at those days when I'm aware I only have that thimbleful to give, I've had repeated experiences of going out and giving anyway, because there's something in me, something almost bigger than me that continues to drive me to show care and attention, to be diligent, to get there, to work hard at being present, and to, as it says here, the definition, conscientiously deployment of skills and knowledge needed to achieve a beneficial outcome. Can I dig deep and bring it? Sometimes is the element of that. Again, courage then comes out of that. So I I might have my doubts, my fears, my insecurities, and yet it is courage. It's that thing, isn't it, that gives us the ability to show up in spite of the fear, to give the best of us, even though we might not be feeling ourselves in our best way. Empathy, defined here again, the ability to communicate understanding of another person's experience from that person's perspective. And that flows into identity as well. Sense of self in relationship to others that forms the basis of responsibility, resilience, and motivation. And I've been doing some reflecting on that quite a lot lately, that, when I can have a tendency to over empathize, to go too close, to experience that blurring of boundaries that can occur when you're in a space with another. And even knowing that and practicing a level of diligence around holding back, remembering I'm me and you're you, and we can bring us. I can help us through counseling process to bring us into closeness, but I don't become you, and I'm disrespecting your frame of reference if I allow that to happen. And the more I work with that, actually, the more empowered I feel. Humility. Again, I'm the last person to claim any kind of humility. Things go to my head. Look at that amazing thing you just did. Oh, wow, that client feels so much better because you work so effectively with them. And yet, again, there's a part of me that knows that the work gets done by the process. And the best that I can do is to do my work to prepare myself, to give myself in the counseling space. And to know, as it says here under the definition for humility, to know and accurately acknowledge my own strengths and weaknesses, and the self-awareness work that goes on, as part of the course, and also in other areas of my life is critical to that. I read the word integrity is the next one, and I think, no, Keith, you've got none. You would run for the hills as soon as things get difficult. That's my kind of trauma response kicking in and saying, flight. That's your preferred trauma response. If things are sticky, tricky, any sign of danger, risk, you gotta run. Again, actually back to humility, to assess accurately and acknowledge one's own strengths and weaknesses. I acknowledge that there is a pull to run. I also can look back at numerous experiences where the evidence says otherwise. The evidence says I stand by my principles and by people and by situations, and I work through things. And hopefully I'm reasonably personally straightforward, honest, and coherent, which is matters, doesn't it? Resilience, capacity to work with the client's concerns without being personally diminished. I feel it. I feel it when things aren't going well for people. And again, we're back to that earlier point of the empathy versus the identification and potentially the over-identification, and then contrasting that with the other extreme, where I can be completely distanced and fully boundaried. And I think my resilience comes somewhat from being able to move through that space and to be able to recognize when again, back to that thimbleful that I was talking about earlier, when my resources are low, then maybe I need to sit down in empathy with a supervisor, for example, or my own counselor, or a good friend, or my wife, and have my cup refilled. And if I'm effective and if I have means for doing that, then I'm much more capable of showing up for emotionally challenging work and bringing the qualities, the personal moral qualities that I would like to bring to this work. Respect is the next one. Appropriate esteem for people and their understanding of themselves. Again, I have been in many situations with many different people through my professional work, in my personal life, in my family life. And absolutely, I know that I can lean into not respecting others and their opinions and their frame of reference, really importantly, their frame of reference. And I can say, oh, I'll tell you what I think, and I'll tell you what I think you should do. And you don't want to feel that way, you want to feel this way. It's much nicer. Versus, because I'm here, I'm listening. I understand. Or do I understand correctly? Do I understand you correctly when you say this? Am I getting the feel of this right? Is this how it is for you? And recognizing your own resilience, your own identity, your own courage. And maybe, within this shared space of the counseling room, helping you to bring that out, bring that forward, and helping you to see yourself accurately, acknowledging your own strengths and weaknesses. Sincerity, a personal commitment to consistency between what is professed and what is done. It's great, isn't it, to just sit here and, oh yeah, I do this and I do that. But how does it all play out in practice? And I think that is, it does get revealed. It has been revealed to me how that plays out in practice, again, through my professional work, through my skills practices on the course, etc. But I am, do you know what? I am deeply committed to finding out what it is that I profess I do and what it is I actually do, and bringing those things into a state of coherence. Because without that coherence, my delivery is going to come across as false. I'm not going to be with my clients in the way that they need a counselor to be with them. And so that, I think that's the process that I'm looking forward to over the next 3 years. And wisdom, possession of sound judgment that informs practice. It's scary, isn't it? I think every time I sit down with a person, whether it's somebody I've been working with for a while or it's a new person, I get that kind of little adrenaline rush, that constriction in the stomach, a tightening of the throat. Is it going to go well this time? Will the parts of me that need to show up and allow me to practice in a professional way? And mostly yes, occasionally no. I have the wisdom to know that I am not a perfect human being. Um, I'm aware of my weaknesses and my flaws, and I'm aware that they sometimes break through. Um, but I have also that awareness, back to the humility point, I have that awareness of my strengths too. And actually, the best thing I find is when I get out of the way, put ego to one side, and here I am with these professional skills, which I'm working to develop. And in this space, which has been created to be a safe space for you, the client, with that maybe comes through the wisdom. Plus I'm not a new kid on the block, so to speak. I've been around a while, and there are things that you learn through life, that those allowing those things to come through in a way that again respects and acknowledges the client and their perspective, their frame of reference, their need, and yeah, whatever I might bring, I hope I bring it kind of with a level of judgment and wisdom that is helpful. Yeah, and that's my reflections on the personal moral qualities of a counselor. I hope that works.